meaning you override your feelings and become very cold and uncaring. What then? Americans are often encouraged to take on some of these trappings by all sorts of self-help books, seminars, and corporate training programs that promote a philosophy of aggressive greed, self-entitlement, and looking out for number one. I remember early on in my sales career, I took a solution selling course, and they made the entire sales department take this course. Now, the goal of this training was to get you, as a salesperson, to tailor whatever you were selling to fit the client's needs, whatever it was. So even if your product doesn't exactly fit what the client needs, it never not fits. It always fits. And you make it fit until your client signs the check. Now, Stanley Bing states in his book, What Would Machiavelli Do? It tells you that you should be able to get what you want when you want it, whether or not you deserve it or not. The very fact that you want it, you should have it. Now, mind you, this book is based largely off of satire, but if taken seriously, it reads like the map to becoming a sociopath. Of course, the more sociopathic you are, the easier it is to follow his course of action to a moral, personal, and corporate success. Now, that begs the question, with our culture, with our obsession with status, money, and the glorification of self over others, I believe that our culture actually encourages sociopathic behavior in order to be successful. For example, Madoff. We're all familiar with Bernie Madoff. He's a former stockbroker, investment advisor, and a non-executive chairman of the NASDAQ stock market, and the admitted operator of what has been described as the largest Ponzi scheme in history. In March 2009, Madoff pleaded guilty to 11 federal felonies and admitted to turning his wealth management business into a massive Ponzi scheme, which defrauded thousands of investors of billions of dollars. Madoff said he began the Ponzi scheme in the early 90s. However, federal investigators believe the fraud began as early as the 1970s. And though charged with the recovering the missing money, believed the investment operation, it may have never been legitimate. So his whole career is based off lies. The amount missing from client accounts, including the fabricated gains, comes to the tune of $65 billion. On June 29, 2009, he was sentenced to 150 years in prison, the maximum allowed for his crimes. Now, Madoff gave a lot of people, charities, and bankers the answers that they needed, but it appears Madoff had already been a successful manager. I mean, you just don't become the chairman of NASDAQ if you don't know your stuff. So why would he threaten all that he'd already accomplished for bigger rewards? Well, maybe just for that reason, bigger rewards. But the rewards weren't just money, not just money. People found him brilliant, and more people depended on him as a wise man, and more people wanted to be around him. That's what he needed. At the same time, his clients were getting what they needed. They got rewards and security. They sought what we all seek, and that's security, predictability, and certainty. For that, they looked away. They ignored all the warning signs and believed what was too good to be true, those remarkable earnings, and believing him to be a financial wizard. Sociopaths are often protected from the consequences of their behavior by family members, friends, and colleagues, because a lot of people depended on him. And when the curtain was pulled back, the only thing was Bernie, the sociopath. Madoff certainly had sociopathic tendencies that bloomed in the proper environment. That environment is us, you and me. As it's happened many times throughout history, when culture needed a lift or a sense of elation of the possibility that lots of money could be made real fast, and not the slow, tedious process that we all know, but through luck and connections or financial nimbleness. But because of greed and the need to seek security, predictability, and certainty, the signs were missed by many, and a lot of people had their entire lives ruined by Madoff's actions and their own willingness to turn a blind eye. If we selfishly pursue our own goals, will we always be blind to the sociopath and his charms? Or will we be lured into thinking exactly like him or her? Conclusion. To me, our emotions and the ability to care for a fellow man is what makes us human. But because we're all unique individuals, we will respond differently to any given situation. There is no consistent theory of how to read another person. Psychology has been called a soft science for precisely that reason. At the same time, psychology likes to label people and their problems, but there is no solid chemical reaction or mathematical formula that predicts a person's future. Only the truth knows. References, a really good book if you want to read further on sociopaths or psychopaths as people like to refer to them. Martha Stout, The Sociopath Next Door, offers some great insight as to what a sociopath is and what their character traits are. And she also offers some real-world examples that don't involve, the person-to-person assaults or anything like that, but things that we come across every day with the people that are in our lives, whether we work with them or live in the same house with them. So, thank you. Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I'm going to ask some questions.
Fire away.
What do you, first of all, explain for us, do you know, what is the Ponzi scheme?
Oh, a Ponzi scheme is where you create a false product to get others to invest in. I take your money because you want to invest into my product. Well, there is no product, and I use your money to pay off past people that have paid into my investment. So basically, you need new investors to pay off the old investors, which is what keeps the scheme going, because you do still need that base level of people that are getting their returns. They are getting that percentage, and those are the people that bring in new investors. So it's constantly feeding on itself. You need to bring in new money to pay off the old people.
Right, so in terms of his investment and the stock market, that was all in fact an illusion.
Correct.
People's money.
Just taking people's money.
Paying old investors.
Basically saying, if you invest your money with me, I will promise you an 8 to 10% return on your investment. Now, if any of you guys are familiar with investment, that's unheard of. So
he did.
It really is unheard of. But once they were receiving their checks for it, hey, this guy's on the up and up. But you've just been paid with money for new investments. There is no whirlwind idea that's making it big. It's just smoke and mirrors.
So some would argue that Madoff is an example that's almost counterintuitive to a sociopath, because he's able to establish such relationships with such a wide variety of people and gain their trust that does that
well, was
it
really
him being a sociopath or psychopath?
Was it really them gaining? Was he gaining their trust, or was it the fact they were blinded by the fact that they could receive such a high return on their money? And he also bolstered his persona by turning people away. Some people will come to him wanting to invest their money, and he would, no. And of course, you create that need that it's something you want, and if you make it unobtainable, it makes it more desirable to someone else. So he did employ techniques like that, which fueled it further.
And so what about his, again, his abilities to establish trusting relationships? And apparently he had relationships with some of these people over years and years and years and years. Does that not, does that fit the model of a sociopath?
Oh, totally. I mean, think about it. They imitate us. They sit, they watch us, what our reactions are. What would a normal person react to? A normal person would feel sadness if they'd heard your pet dying, or a spouse or a parent. You would feel sadness, so the appropriate would be to offer the person support. I'm a sociopath, I don't care. I don't care, but I see that you have something that I want, so I'm going to pretend. I'm going to give you all the support, and I'm going to play every emotional angle I possibly can see. Because the talent of the sociopath is spotting those vulnerabilities that lie within all of us, and using that to charm, glib, and playing our own insecurities against us is what allows the psychopath or the sociopath to get inside our heads.
Well done. Well done.
Any other questions? Thank you. You folks have been great.
Well done. High tech, I love it. PowerPoint is
Who's
high
next?
tech for me.
Do you guys need the... You're next?
Yeah.
You need this? You want me to leave it this way?
No.